Hello everyone, welcome back on our YouTube channel again. Uh, you already know that we have started a video series for the preparation of istqb foundation level exam, and until now we are done with 5 chapters. Now it's gonna be last chapter, which is about tools support for testing. From this chapter we have 2 questions in exam, so anyhow you cannot ignore this chapter as well. Very small chapter, like many subtopics, but very important to know, like how we can support. Like until now we have gone through different test techniques, different level of testing, and then how the testing is managed. Now in this particular chapter we will discuss what kind of tools on each level normally we need to support our testing. So before starting the video, if you are new on our channel, don't forget to subscribe our channel, like our videos, and share with your friends. Other than this istqb foundation level exam, if you go to the playlist section of our channel, over there we have also uploaded some other videos, like if it's a channel Wains vlogs, then we have actually a playlist of uh, German driving license theory, as well as about the Einbruchung test, and as well as for P1 exam. So it was just an introduction. So as I told you, this chapter is very important. We have actually, in this chapter we have 2 main topics: tools and effective use of tools. And from each, like 6.1 and 6.2, it will be 2 questions, like 1 question and 2 questions in total from this chapter. So first of all, we will try to cover this 6.1 in 1 to 2 videos, and then we will move ahead. So the first is it is about the topic 6.1 is all about the tools, test tools considerations. Like what are the considerations for the tools to be selected? Test tools can be used to support one or more testing activities. Like different activities can be supported from testing. Such tools include tools that are directly used in testing, such as test execution tools and test data preparation tools. So like these are directly involved in testing. Sometime like some tools support you to prepare test data. They directly interact with files and database and create test data for you. And some tools execute the test, log the actual result, compare them with the expected results, and so ever. So tools that help to manage requirement, test cases, test procedure, automated test scripts, test result, test data and defect, and for reporting and monitoring test execution. So other than the testing, there are tools for the complete management, starting from the requirements. Then as you see, test cases, procedure, automated test scripts, test result, test data. So whichever tool you are using, there could be many kind of like tools. For example, you are using Microsoft Word to note down some defects. It is your tool which you are using as a support in the testing. Similarly, if you are using some requirement tool like doors, polarion, or whatsoever tool you are using, it's a requirement. There are many kinds of tools that are used for analysis and evaluation. It is also a category. Any tool that assists in testing, a spreadsheet is also a test tool in this meaning. Like anything which can assist you in testing, to keep the track of your testing, is a test tool. Like they told spreadsheet like Microsoft Excel is also a test tool. It is as simple as this. Then test tool classification. How actually we classify the test tools? Test tools have one or more of the following purposes depending on the context: improve the efficiency of test activities by automating repetitive tasks or tasks that require significant resources when done manually. Test execution, regression testing. So like sometimes the test tools are being used for the automated testing. Like we are continuously, for example, if we want to do the confirmation testing, if we want to rerun the test again and again, regression testing that we have discussed a lot in previous chapters, if you do it manually each time, it will take some time. That's why we use some automated testing tools. Improve the efficiency of test activities by supporting manual test activities throughout the test process, as we have seen in section 1.4. Like you can, using the tools, you can also improve the efficiency of test activities. All the activities, like there could be many activities in a test life cycle. So for each of them, if you use some tool to keep a track of that activity, it will be very helpful. Improve the quality of test activities by allowing for more consistent testing and a higher level of defect reproducibility. Like sometime even you need for example, sometime if you are using a tool, let's say Then you found some defect, you want to like show it to developer, you want to reproduce it. So you will like note it down in the tool that it should automatically give that value to reproduce the defect. So by using the tool, actually it will be more consistent testing. You can run the test cases again and again, and you can reproduce the defect so that you can show it to developer and then they will work on it. Automate activities that cannot be executed manually. Large scale performance testing, let's say like you are testing the performance testing of your whole application, then there should be some dedicated tool to do this kind of testing. Increase reliability of testing by automating large data comparison or simulation behavior. Like sometime you have a very large data and you need to simulate that behavior because the same is replicated to the other part of the code, so you will not do it again and again manually. So you will be using some automation for this. Tools can be classified based on several criteria such as purpose, pricing, licensing model, e.g. commercial or open source, like it depends which kind of tool you are choosing, and technology used. Tools are classified in this labels according to the test activities that they support. So like in few minutes we will see different kind of tools which are being used in different test activities. So actually they depend what are their purpose, in which part of life cycle they are being used, which test activity they will support. Some tools clearly support only or mainly one activity, others may support more than one activity but are classified under the activity which they are most closely associated. So like some tools are dedicated for particular test activity, but some tools like can do multiple activities, but they are corely designed for one activity. So that we will see in few moments. Tools from a single provider, especially those that have been designed to work together, may be provided as an integrated suite. So like as they are telling sometime we have a single provider, like tools from a single provider, so like they have been dedicatedly designed like to work together, or maybe you can integrate them with some other tools as well. Some type of test tool can be intrusive, that means like uh, which means that they may affect the actual outcome of the test. Like sometime you think that this tool will be helpful for me, but itself tool needs so many data to start the tool itself, and maybe it will take some, like there are some inner problems, not the problems but some requirements of the tool that will delay your output. For example, the actual response time of for an application may be different due to the extra instruction that are executed by the performance testing tool, or the amount of code coverage achieved may be distorted due to the use of coverage tool. Like for example, you are using a tool you are using a code coverage tool. You want to show to the customer that the code coverage, let's say, is 90% in some desired cases, but the tool which is being used has its own code to cover the code coverage. Let's say like it contains its own wrapper function, and then because of these lines of code which are being used to test your code, to tell the code coverage, like you are not doing the code coverage for the customer tool, but you are using for the product. But still this tool which you are using has its own limitation, has its own code actually, and when you sum up the code coverage, it is lesser than 90%. So even they are saying that like some applications are really time critical, but your tool which you are using for testing is taking more time actually to run, and then it will actually, it is this effect is called intrusive effect, probe effect. So like in those cases your tool will not be helpful. The consequences of using intrusive tools is called the probe effect, as you have seen here. This is very important for istqb exam. Some tools offer support that is typically more appropriate for developers, e.g. tools that are used during component and integration testing. Such tools are marked with D in this section, in the sections below. So some tools are corely designed for the developer, like when they are doing like component, as you know, in the agile development, the developer develops this component or unit and do the unit testing himself or herself, and same the integration testing sometimes. So now we will see different tools where they are marked with D, that means they are mainly designed for the developer to help the developer. The other tools are definitely for the test activity. So now we will discuss different types of tools as per the test activity. Tools for like they have classified the tools in different categories, so it will be easy to for all of us to remember. So first kind of category is tools which are being used to support for management of testing and testware. Like as you know, like we have discussed about the configuration management in chapter number 5, and like here in this a subcategory we will discuss about the tools which are being like kind of tools which are being used for the management, complete management of the testing. It's not particular to a particular phase of the testing, but it's a complete management of testing. So management tool may apply to any test activities over the entire software development lifecycle. Like maybe they are the tools which are keeping a track of requirements until the monitoring and controlling of report. Everything is included in that tool. So these are the tool for the management of testing and testware. Example of tools that support management of testing and testware include test management tools and application lifecycle management tool. If you know this term, ALM, it's application lifecycle management tool. Like it is being used throughout the life of a particular software development or the testing activity, and it keeps track of almost every activity during test management. Then requirement management tool, e.g. traceability to test object. Like for example, in a project you have thousands of requirements, then you are using a tool to confirm that this requirement is being like for this part is being fulfilled with this test object or with this test case. So requirement tools or requirement management tools are also critical in every kind of testing process. Then you know this defect management tools, or also known as incident management tools. They are also used to keep the record of defect tracking, and then like it will and sometime it automatically it's a part of test management tool. This we have discussed already last topic of chapter 5, how the defect management work. So this all is about the tester tools for testing. Then the next one is very important again, the very important tool about the configuration management tool. As you know, we have discussed it a lot. It's very important configuration to complete to keep the complete configuration of all the test item, test wares, your versions and everything. This we have discussed. So all of these 1, 2, 3 and 4 till there, they all are related to testing. Then the last one is continuous integration tool. Maybe you are aware with this some CI/CD that we have discussed like not a lot, but just an intro in chapter number 1. So continuous integration, you are continuously developing an application and you are continuously integrating it. So it's a developer tool. The rest are actually related to the testing activity, but as this D is telling, it's like it's somehow related to the more relevant to the developer. Like he's continuously developing something and then integrating those developed modules or units in the complete software. Then the next type is tools for support for static testing. So like you know this we have chapter number 3 was all about the static analysis and static testing. So in static testing tools actually like there could be a tool that assists with like tracking the result of reviews. For example, you have done some reviews and then you tell, then during the review actually we have noted these points. So again, this static analysis tool could be anything keeping track of the review meetings. And then for example, under the static testing we have static analysis. Static testing tools are associated with the activities and benefits described in chapter number 3. Example of such tool include static analysis tool. Like what actually static analysis tool, and again it's a development tool. What this tool does actually, like for example, those who are very very familiar with the programming, they know the term MISRA. We have some standards for C programming, like there is some standard from the MISRA guidelines. So there are some tools which check, like if you are doing some coding, if tool is integrated with your development environment, it will tell you here you have some problem, you are not meeting the MISRA guidelines, you are not meeting some standards, maybe here some commas are missing or whatsoever, some semicolons are missing, some brackets are missing. So this kind of tools will help developer during the development activity before the reviews. Static analysis, like what static analysis mean, it's a sub part of, it's a type of static testing in which we never run the code. What we do actually, we analyze, we just look on the code maybe manually, or we are using some tool to automate it, like some tool is guiding us, like static analysis tool. There are many static analysis tool actually. In this particular like the scope of foundation level, you do not need to know the name of tools exactly, you only need to know different types of tools being used. But then there are thousands of tools in each category. If you want, you can Google it. Even if you want, you can ask me, I will make a separate video. But currently for the scope of exam, you only need to know different kind of tools that are. Then The next type of tool is tools support for test design and test implementation, like the tools actually that helps to design the test cases. Maybe there are some graphical based test cases you are designing, or maybe you are writing some test cases. So these tools will help you to design and implement the test cases. Like they will actually help you to, like what we do actually during test design and implementation, you know this, we like set up the environment. After setting the environment, we design the test cases, we implement them, we load the values from the database into our test cases to check the module. So test design tools aid in the creation of maintainable work product in test design and implementation, including test cases, test procedure, and test data. Example of such tools are model based testing tools, like for example, you know this unified modeling languages, UML. Maybe you can have any kind of a business model, maybe in MATLAB if you are testing your model, then model based testing tools. Then test data preparation tools, as I told you, test design and implementation, if you remember from chapter number 1 we discuss in detail. Like during this we have the complete platform and environment setup, then we have complete data which we actually load in our tool to execute the test case in the next step. So the test design and implementation tools sorry, helps you actually, these tools help you to design the test data, to implement them, to they actually test data as you see, test data preparation tool, they manipulate the databases, the files, and take the values from them and load in the tool, which in the next step of execution will be like test will be run. In some cases, tools that support for test design and implementation may also support test execution and logging, or provide their outputs directly to other tools that support test execution and logging. So normally it's a trend in software testing that the tools which are being used for test design and implementation, normally they have an like extra step, they also support the execution and logging. Like maybe it's a complete package from a company, they are offering test design, implementation, execution, logging, everything in one. So it is possible. Then the next one is tool support for test execution and logging. So now now the tools like tests will be executed. Many tools exist to support and enhance test execution and logging activities. For example of these tools include test execution tool, easy to run regression test, like any kind of tools which support the execution of test on your test object, or maybe on your code, then they are actually test execution tool. They even run the regression test, if you like to check if the system is regressed, if something is changed after confirmation testing, you need to do the regression testing, it will help in that. Then coverage tools, actually the coverage tool, requirement coverage and code coverage, actually it's a part of developer, like it's a tool which is for the developer, because when developer creates a module or unit, then he needs to confirm that the code coverage is around 90%, functional coverage or decision coverage, or like as you have seen in chapter number 4, we have discussed in the white box text technique about the different kind of coverages. So actually it's a developer tool again, which helps the developer to tell that how much the code coverage is being done by by writing my test cases if the developer is in agile development and doing the component or integration testing. Then test harness, it's again like, what is test harness? If you remember, we have discussed about the stubs and drivers, that for example if you have like working on a top level and the lower level files are not ready but you have to test them, then you will stub them. Similarly, if you have the lower levels of file ready but the main file which are calling those files or functions are not ready, then we will create a driver to call those files. This term is called harness. Again, the developer creates a harness. So these all are test execution and logging tools. Then the next one is tool support for performance measurement and dynamic analysis. So then we do the dynamic analysis as well, we do the performance measurement. So performance measurement, dynamic analysis tools are essential in supporting performance and load test activities, as these activities cannot effectively be done manually. So sometime you need to do the performance testing by using a tool, because this test has to be run for multiple hours. Then you use some automatic tools, use some tools which will not actually adversely which will not affect, but like you need to use some tools for that, because it cannot be done manually. Example of these tools include performance testing tool, like non-functional testing, you have to do performance testing, you have to do, let's say, some other kind of non-functional testing, you need tool for them to confirm the performance testing. Similarly, dynamic analysis tool, again it's a actually you can say developer tool, it's all about, you know, the debugging. You run the code, you see the code, you see the error. So again, for static analysis, it could be some standard, some static tools in which test cases are not run, but you only go through the code statically and then you see. But dynamic analysis, as you know, we run the test cases, and then maybe debugging could be an example. Debugging tools could be an example for this. Tools suppose for specialized testing needs. And other than all these categories that we have discussed, there are some tools like which are being used for some special needs. Maybe it depends actually, like what kind of uh, 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 product you are testing, and what kind of like to say customer requirements are. Maybe customer is demanding you to do all the non-functional testing, maybe security testing, maybe portability testing, some kind of accessibility testing, usability testing. So then you need some dedicated tools to purchase and integrate with your testing system. So in addition to tools that support the journal test process, there are many other tools that support more specific testing for non-functional characteristics. As I told you, if customer is demanding, like these are tools which are being 90% or 100% commonly used tool, they can be generally classified. But then there are some tools come which are like totally relevant to a particular project, which vary from project to project. Either the project is safety critical, so security critical, or usability critical, accessibility critical. So based on that, you need to purchase or integrate those specific tools to fulfill the customer requirements. So this was everything from this particular topic. Now in the next video we will discuss the benefit and risk of test automation. Simply by test automation here means the use of tools. When you are using a tool to support your testing, it's a kind of test automation. Keep it as simple as this. So in the next video we will discuss about the benefit and risk of test automation, the impact of using the tools during the testing. So until the next video, we wish you happy learning. Have a nice day. Take care and bye.